Good morning everybody, this is Mrs. Chambers here, and yes, you can see the cast of Star Wars made out of Lego sitting on my sofa. This is because I'm feeling a little bit lonely without seeing all you lot when I'm doing basic skills, and I've got no faces to look at. So while I do this basic skills session, I thought it would be quite good fun to have the cast of Star Wars sitting in my classroom and learning how to do basic skills. Now, this is between us because Mr. Chambers does not know that I've got his Lego characters out on the sofa, and I've got to put them back before he gets home from work. Hello everybody, and welcome to my tips for times tables. So I'd just like to welcome my Star Wars group that has sat very quietly and patiently over there, ready to start, so good start. Right, so times tables. So it's not always easy, is it, trying to learn our times tables, and we're always trying to think of different ways to try and make it a little bit easier. And I know in the class we often recite our tables by saying 1 times 6 is 6, 2 times 6 is 12, and that's not always easy for everybody to see in their head, in their mind. So there are 3 ways where we learn. So we learn auditory, which is when we hear what people are saying. Visually is when we see what is written down, and kinetic is when we're actually writing and we're doing something. So you will always see, if you come to work with me, I've always got the timetable of the week which is written on the board, okay? So in this case, 6 times table. So we always start with reciting our 6 times table, and in the corners I've already got the numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 12. So 1 times 6 is 6, 2 times 6 is 12, 3 times 6 is 18, 4 times 6 is 24, and we'll do that all the way till we get to the end. Then that will be your chance to write them in your book. So you will write them in your book, but you will not write 6, 12, 18, 24, because that won't help you remember your times table. You will write 1 times 6 equals 6, 2 times 6 equals 12. That helps to instill it in your brain and helps you to remember it better. So once you've done all that and you've written out your times table, you do your inverse facts, which will be 6 divided by 6 equals 1, and we will do that for them. The next step is we will have a look and see if there are any patterns, any ways to help us remember our 6 times table if we hadn't got them up on the board. So the first one, let's see which ones we would remember, so make it a little bit easier for ourselves. So the first one, 1 times 6 is 6. It starts at the very beginning. We're all going to know that one. So the first thing we're going to do is remove 1 times 6 is 6, because we know that one. Put that one down. Which other one do we know next? So let's have a look. Go all the way along your line, and actually, if you remember, 72 is the last one on the line, which is 12 times 6 is 72. So we're going to take 72 down. So we've started with 1 times 6. Look at the end of the line, 72 is 12 times 6. So we're going to take that off. Right, so which are the ones do we recognise now that would make it easy for us to remember if we had to do our 6 times table? Well, maybe 10 times 6, which is 60. Brilliant. Okay, we'll take that one off. Anybody else want to have a go over there? Yes, Luke Skywalker. 11 times 6. Yes, 11 times 6 is 66. That's a good one to remember as well. Our 11 times table is quite an easy times table to remember. We'll take that one off. Anybody else think of another times table which might be easy? Kylo Ren. Yes, 2 times 6, which is 12. Well done. We'll take that one off. Can you see how many we actually really know out of our 6 times table already? Anybody else know of another one which might make it easier? 5 times 6. Well done, Darth Vader. 5 times 6, which is 30. We know that's in our 5 times table. Take that off, put that one there. Okay, anybody know another one? 3 times 6. Yes, 3 times 6. Well done, Luke Skywalker, you're doing really well today. Let's remove that one off. 3 times 6 is 18. We'll take that one off. Right, so now I'm left with a few more. So let's have a think how we can remember 4 times 6. Well, if you have a look, 4 lots of 6 is 24 and it ends in a 4. So 4 times 6 is 24 and it ends in a 4. We'll take that one off. That one's gone. Right, so another one that would help us to remember is 8 times 6 is 48. That one ends in an 8. So 8 times 6 is 48. We can remember that one. We'll take that one off too. Now I'm left with 36, 42 and 54. Now, why do you think I've got a square around 36? Wookie. It's a square number. Well done. So 6 times 6 is 36. So when you're multiplying the same number by the same number, that means it's a square number and the answer would be 36. It can also be written like this with a 6 and a little 2 at the top. Only a little 2 though, because that's showing you that the number's squared. Okay, so now I'm going to take 6 times 6 off. Now I'm left, out of my whole 6 times table, I'm only left with these two. Now I usually give myself a favourite one and one that I really struggle to remember. So in this case, my favourite one is 6 times 7, which is 42. So 6 times 7 is 42. That is my favourite one. I'm going to ask you what my favourite one is at the end of the lesson and see if you can remember that 6 times 7 is 42 and it is my favourite one. I'm going to take that one down. Now I'm left with 54. Now 54 is the one I always forget and get mixed up with and think it's 56. So in my mind, I don't like 54. 54 is the one that I always get stuck on. So by telling myself I don't like 54, 6 times 9 is 54. I don't like that one. I'm just keeping that in my brain. 6 times 9 is 54. It's the one I don't like. So that one's come off. Right, we've gone all the way through our 6 times table now. That was so easy. So it doesn't matter which times table you use, as long as you're using something to help you remember your times table. So I'm going to take these ones off. Let's have a look at the 3 times table. So, for example, we've got 3, 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 3 is 12, 5 times 3 is 15, 6 times 3 is 18, 7 times 3 is 21, 8 times 3 is 24, 9 times 3 is 27, 10 times 3 is 30, 11 times 3 is 33, and 12 times 3 is 36. Right, again, we can look for things that's going to make it easier for us. So, to start off with, 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9. There's a pattern there. Can you see the pattern? What is the pattern, Wookie? Yes, that's right. So it goes an odd number, an even number, an odd number, an even number, and so on. And it repeats in that pattern. So it's a repeating pattern of odd and even. Who knows what an odd number is? Kylo Ren. Right, yes, an odd number ends in a 1, a 3, a 5, a 7 or a 9. So there we go, there are odd numbers. An even number, okay Luke Skywalker? Yes, an even number ends in 2, 4, 6, 8 and a 0. So there we go. We've got 6, 2, 8, 4, 0 and so on. So there are odd and even numbers. Okay. So who could tell me why I've put a square around this number 9 now? What did I say about the 6 times table? Kylo Ren. Yes, it's a square number. And remember how we write square numbers? Stormwalker, how do we write square numbers? Yes, that's right. So a square number can be written as 3 squared with a little 2 at the top, or 3 times 3, because we're multiplying the same number by the same number. Well done. You're learning very well today. Really impressed. So, this is our 3 times table. Another thing that we can do with our times table is think about what are factors. Now, factors are those numbers that if you multiply them together will give you that answer. So, for example, 24, what are the factors of 24? So let's think about our times table. So I know 1, if I did 1 times 24, it would be 24. So I'm going to put 1 and 24. What other number factor pairs can we have? So I could say 6 times 4. So 6 times 4 is 24, because we've just done that in the 6 times table. What other numbers could I have to give me factors for 24? Yes, well done. We've got 12 and 2, 2 times 12. So they're my factor pairs. So you can have a lot of fun with your times tables, finding out lots of different things. We've talked about odd numbers, even numbers, factors. We've thought about square numbers. And if you put them down on a piece of paper, either you can put them on the wall, you can put it on the floor, you can lift them up when you know them. It helps you to remember them. So if you're doing your 3s, you know that it's going to go an odd, an odd, an even number, okay? And again, you can do it the same way. You know what 1 times 3 is. We're going to take that away. We're going to look at the end of the number line. So we're going to say 12 times 3 is 36. I'm going to take that one off. Again, we can go for the 11, the 10, until we're not sure with the ones that we're not sure of. And then you're going to choose your favourite one that you know you sometimes can't remember. And then the one that you really can't remember, which you really don't like. And that can be the one that stays in your mind and helps you to remember it. So, just before I go, the other thing I would like to say to you is, did you know, a little bit of information, a lot of you might, but some of you might not, that it doesn't matter how big your number is. So for example, this number here that I've got in front of me, who can tell me what this number says? Wookie? Yes, 32,306. What number does it end in? A 6. So my number will be odd or even. Which one? Stormwalker? Even, yes, because it doesn't matter how big your number is, it's always your last digit at the end that will tell you whether your number is odd or even. It could be into the millions, but whatever your number is on the end, whether it ends in a 1, it would be odd. If it ends in a 6, it's even. That is another good way to remember things. So if you're trying to find out whether a number is odd or even, always look at the number, the digit at the end, and that will tell you whether it's odd or even. And the last thing I want to say to you is you could even make your own little games up to help you with your numbers. I've made a spiral here, my own little spiral, and it's a snail. And you could put missing numbers into your spiral all the way around it until you have finished, and then you're going to turn it over, start your clock. How many minutes is it going to take you to fill it in? If you do it all in 5 minutes, can you do it in 3 minutes? If you want to do another one, I've done mine in black pen because I just thought you might want to lay another piece of paper over the top of it and go over it so you've got another copy, because not everybody has got photocopiers at home. So if you've got another piece of paper and you've done it in black pen and you've not put anything in your boxes, you can just go around the outline and then you've got another copy to do a different times table with. Or you could use this other method. So I'm going to take this off and look at dominoes. If you've got any dominoes at home, that will be brilliant. So I've just chose 2 there. So for example, I've got 6 and 2 and 4 and 2, and I'm going to write a calculation out for them. So 6 add 2, okay, and 4 add 2, and my answer will be 6 and 8. And then I'm going to multiply those together. So 6 times 8. Can you remember what 6 times 8 was? It ends in an 8. Well done, Wookie, 48. 6 times 8 is 48. So again, you could do it that way, or if you don't want to do it that way, we'll take those ones off. You could do it this way, where you could do 6 times times 2 instead of adding is 12, and 4 times 2 is 8. And then you're going to multiply your 12 by your 8, and the answer would be, Luke Skywalker, 96. Well done, brilliant. So that's how easy it can be. Get rid of those. So give it a go. Have a think about your times tables. Make it a little bit easier for yourselves. I really enjoy working times tables. I enjoy writing them down, taking them off when I know that I've got the answer right. See how quick you can be and aim for the stars. Get there. Star Wars, guys. We know we can do this. Get onto your times table as rock stars. Aim high, and remember, let the force be with you. Goodbye, folks, for now. Enjoy.